So now explaining receiving blood type. So just a quick reminder that when we have a positive blood type, like A positive, positives can receive from positives and negatives, or give to positives and negatives as well. But negatives can only receive from negatives and can only give to negatives. They have to stay with their negatives. Remember, positive people love all. Negative people don't really love all. They kind of just interact with their type of people, the negative people. All right? And then we have the RH factor. So how do we know something is a positive or a negative? If it has the RH antigen, then it is positive. If it doesn't have the RH, which now becomes an antibody, then it's a negative. So if you're doing blood typing and you see, oh, it coagulated in the RH, all right, that means it has RH. It's positive for RH, so it's a positive. If it doesn't coagulate in that RH whenever you're doing the blood testing, then you don't have the RH, so you're RH negative. And that's your antibody. All right, so A positive. This is what A positive looks like. So here I kind of drew it out so you can see the antigens and antibodies better. So for A positive, we have the A antigen. We do not have the B antigen, so it becomes an antibody. And we do have the RH factor, so that's also an antigen, RH. So knowing that we don't have B, and that's an antibody, you can go ahead and eliminate all the blood types with B in them. So now we're left with these two. And I already gave you the answer for this one so you can see a little better. So A, O, O. Remember, we have O on here because O's don't necessarily have they don't have antigens, period. But since we're talking about giving and not donating, in the giving as well, O's can give to this because they don't really have, its own little antigen thing. So that's why it's like O is the universal donor, but only one O is actually the true universal donor. So we'll just, just imagine, all right? Just pretend. And I'll explain that better when we keep on going. But yes, so O and O and A and A. And the reason why we're giving to both negative and positive A and negative and positive B is because, remember, positive blood types can give to both negative and positive. And so that's why these four are the right answers. All right, and then now for A negative, here's what it looks like. So it has the A antigen, but no B antigen, so that's immediately the antibody, and no RH antigen either, so that's immediately an antibody as well. So then you're like, okay, great. So that means I can eliminate all the ones with B, and now we're left with these four. But remember, it's RH negative. RH is our antibody. And you see that negative. And negative signs negative blood types only give to negative blood types. It cannot give to a positive. So go ahead and eliminate all the positives, and we're left with those two. And those two are the answers. So let's do this one. If you want to do this by yourself, you can pause it and do it by yourself. So B positive. Knowing it's a positive sign, we automatically know that I will be able to give to a negative and a positive, and we immediately know that it has an RH antigen. And here's what it looks like. So we have the B antigen, we have the RH antigen, but we do not have an A. There are no A's, so A becomes our antibody. So that means we can go ahead and eliminate all the A's. That means this column and this column. So we're left with this and this. So we're like, okay, so which one are we going to choose? Knowing that it's a positive, it can give to both positive and negative. And because B is an antigen, that means those two are the answer. And because, O is also a giver to B positive, and because it's a negative and a positive, and this is a positive, then it's both of these as well. So those two are the answers. All right, and then B negative, so the opposite. Knowing it's a negative, we automatically know that it does not have the RH factor. So RH will be an antibody. And it's a B. So remember, B's cannot give to A's and A's cannot give to B's. They do not mix. They have to stay within their own little blood type, all right? So we automatically know it has a B antigen. And if you need to look at it better, you can see if we drew it out, there is no A, so that's why it's an antibody. There is a B, so that's why we have the B antigens. And there are no RH, that's why it's an antibody as well. That's why it's RH negative, so B negative. So that means the only blood we can get is from a B, and it cannot be a positive, it has to be a negative. So we eliminate the ones with A's, because that's an antibody. And now we're left with B negative, B positive, O negative, O positive. And remember, it has an RH antibody, so that means it does not have RH, so it cannot be a positive, so it cannot receive blood from positives either. So we're left with B negative and O negative. So those two are your answers. And then moving on to AB positive. All right, so AB positive, let's look at it over here. It has A, it has B, and it has RH. So it has all of them, all right? So that means it doesn't have any antibodies. It doesn't attack a B because it has a B. It can't attack an A because it has an A. And it can't attack an RH because it has an RH. Remember, having an RH means it's positive. Positive, all right? And because it's positive, that means it can get from a negative as well. So that means we can't really eliminate anything. We can't eliminate just an A because it has A. It can't eliminate just a B because it has a B, and we can't eliminate any negatives because it's a positive, and positives are positive people, so they mess with all people, okay? All positive and negative blood types. So that means it can receive blood from all of these. So the answer is all of them. All of them. And how about AB negative? All right, so AB negatives looks like this. It's a little different from its twin or its sister blood type. So it has A antigens and B antigens, but it doesn't have RH antigens like the AB positive one does. So that means RH is our antibody. So that means it can receive blood from any A or B blood types, and O, of course, but it cannot receive blood types that have positive. So that means we will have to eliminate all the positives, and we're left with all the negative blood types, and that would be our answer. It's the same thing, except because it's a negative, it cannot receive from a positive, so it's only the negative ones. There we go. And then O. Remember, O has no antigens, so O is a little weird too. But when we split O into its positive and negative types, that's when we see the real antigens, all right? So the first video, yes, it says O has no antigens, but it really does have antigens when you split them up into their actual types. It's positive and negative. So O positive does have an RH factor. It has an RH antigen, all right? So that's what it looks like. So this is what it looked like in the last video I made. Let me show you that picture again. This is what it looked like. Okay, looked like that. Doesn't have any antigens. Has antibodies, that's great. But if it's a positive, it actually does have antigens. It has an RH antigen. But it does not have an A. There are no A's. It does not have a B. There are no B's. But it does have RH. So that's the only antigen it has. So that means it fights against A and B, which is what was on here. All right. So that means any blood type that has an A or B cannot be O positive cannot receive from any blood that has A, B in it. Excuse me. So the only blood it can receive is from an O. Now, what kind of O? O negative or O positive? Well, actually both. Because remember, positives can receive both negative and positive blood type. That was one of the little rules I wrote. All right, so the right answer for this is O positive and O negative. All right, and then the last but not least, O negative. All right, so O negative has no antigens, none, all right? But it has a lot of antibodies. That's because since it has 0, it's a nice little red blood cell, its surface has no A antigens, no B antigens, nor any RH antigens. So that means it fights against A, B, and RH. All of these that aren't on its surface become its antibodies. So if a blood transfusion happens and the person gets a B positive blood instead of, the one it's supposed to get, that means these antibodies will start attacking it. All the antibodies for RH and B will start attacking that blood. So because it has no antigens, but it has all these antibodies, then what blood type can it get? So you automatically know it can't be A or B, so that eliminates all of these. And it can't be an RH, and RH means positive, so it can't be this either. So we're left with O negative. Okay, so to understand the whole universal donor thing, universal receiver, just gotta look at them. Universal donor means that you can give blood to all blood types. And as you can see, O negative gives blood to everyone. O negative, 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 and O negative. So it's a universal donor. And the universal receiver is AB positive because look, it can take all blood types, including O negative. So that's the whole thing. So if you ever get a question like, what is a universal donor? Universal donor, O negative. Not just O, but O negative specifically. And universal receiver, AB positive, because it can get all of them. Not AB, because AB negative does not receive all of them, only those, but all of these, all right? All right, great. This was supposed to be for this, but you get the gist of it. This was from the wrong line. So yeah, this goes with this. The AB negative can only receive from all of the blood types that are negative, not positive. All right.